Twilight and Trixie stood outside of Sugar Cube Corner. Just then the Royal Guard appeared. The 5 guards landed near Twilight. "We got your message," said the captain. "Let's do this." He led his guards into the building. Twilight and Trixie followed them. It looked normal. "Check the basement," said the captain. The guards opened the basement door and looked down the stairs. He motioned that it was clear, and everyone headed to the basement. It was empty aside from all the papers strewn across the floor. There was a table against the far back wall, and there was what appeared to be a note on the table. The guard took a step forward. He screamed in pain as a bear trap slammed shut on his leg. He collapsed to the floor as blood squirted from the wound. One of the other guards tried to open it. It slipped and caught on the guard's leg in pain again, making the cut even deeper. "I'll do it," said Trixie. She used her magic to pry open the trap and levitated it away from the guard. The guard that tried to helped the injured guard to his feet and back upstairs. "Where's Pinkie Pie?" asked the captain. "I don't know," said Twilight. "It seemed like she should be here." The captain let out a frustrated groan and headed back upstairs. The other guards followed him. Twilight used her magic to spring all the remaining traps. There was about 8 more. She then walked up to the back table and picked up the note. She read through it and almost dropped it. "Oh no," said Twilight. "This isn't good." "What?" asked Trixie. "What's wrong?" Twilight inhaled deeply. "Pinkie Pie has Fluttershy." "Hey, everypony," Pinkie Pie said, opening the basement door. "Look who I found," she said, pushing Fluttershy in. "No!" yelled Rainbow Dash and Rarity. "Let her go!" Rainbow Dash yelled. Fluttershy saw the state of Rainbow Dash and was in tears, and they started forming in her eyes. "Let her go?" asked Pinkie Pie. "So she can miss out on all the fun?" Rarity looked at the straps that held her in place. Unlike Rainbow Dash's, hers were just plain rope. She pulled at them as she could, and she could feel the ropes starting to feel loose. "I wonder how long Fluttershy will last," said Pinkie Pie, holding the scalpel in front of Fluttershy's face. Fluttershy went out a whimper, and Pinkie Pie moved the scalpel closer. "Leave her?" The rope snapped. "Alone!" Rarity leaped at Pinkie Pie and knocked her away from Fluttershy. Pinkie Pie looked over Rarity. Her smile had faded and her eyes narrowed. Her mane was now hanging flat, and not poofy like usual. Her skin had also gotten a little darker. "You!" Pinkie, now Pinkamena, said. Rarity looked at Fluttershy. "Run!" Fluttershy started to move towards the door, but Pinkamena brought her hoof to a button on the wall. She was waiting for the right moment to push it. Rainbow Dash saw what Pinkie was doing and thought about it for a second. "Wait! Fluttershy!" Rainbow Dash yelled, but Fluttershy didn't hear. She continued for the door. As she was almost out of Pinkamena pressed the button. The door slammed shut and whacked Fluttershy in the face. She tumbled backwards and lay on the floor. She tried to stand up and saw a red puddle forming on the floor. She reached a hoof up to her nose and felt blood. She brought her hoof down and saw red. Her nose and all around her mouth was covered in blood. "Fluttershy!" yelled Rainbow Dash. Rarity trotted over to her. "Fluttershy," asked Rarity, "are you okay?" Fluttershy said nothing. She just stared at the blood on the floor. Just then, Rarity felt a knife in her hip, right by her cutie mark. She fell to the floor, pain shooting through her body. The knife was still inside of her. She tried to stand it, but it hurt too much. Pinkamena stood in front of Fluttershy and held a knife up to her face. "Don't try anything," said Pinkamena. "You behave, I might let you live." Pinkamena lowered the knife and left the room. The ponies weren't going anywhere soon. Rainbow Dash was still strapped down. Rarity's hip was injured so she couldn't walk. And Fluttershy was too scared to move. "So that's the plan," said Twilight. "Any questions?" She and Trixie were standing outside of Canterlot Castle. "Yeah," I have one, said Trixie. What do I have to do it? Because Pinky won't think you're a threat, said Twilight. She doesn't know you've been practicing. You sure this will work? Positive. The doors to the castle opened, and Luna stepped out. What are you two doing? She asked. Trying to figure out how we're going to save our friends, said Twilight. Friends, said Trixie softly. She liked how it sounded, and smiled. You're going after Pinkie Pie, aren't you? Asked Luna. Of course. It's too dangerous, said Luna. I can't let you. We have to, said Twilight. What if she had Celestia? Luna was about to say something, but stopped. Then she let out a sigh. I can see there's no stopping you, said Luna. Be careful. Thanks, Princess, said Twilight. She transported herself and Trixie back to Ponyville. Well, here I go, said Trixie. Good luck. Trixie walked up an alley between two buildings and leaned against the side of one. Excuse me, said a voice. Trixie turned around and saw a pony. She couldn't see who it was because the pony was wearing a coat and a hat. Yes? Asked Trixie. Aren't you the great and powerful Trixie who was here a while back? Why, yes, I am. What are you doing hanging out with Twilight Sparkle? We're friends, said Trixie. Want to hear something interesting? She asked. Oh boy, do I, said the stranger. She found out who's behind the recent pony nappings. Really? Said the stranger. And who does she think it is? Oh, some pony named Pinky. Just then the stranger stabbed her in the neck with a syringe. Trixie tried to stay awake, but soon everything went black. Trixie slowly opened her eyes. Where am I? She asked. You're finally awake, said a voice. She looked to her right and saw Rarity. She then looked down and noticed that she was tied to a wooden slab, similar to Rarity. How are my three favorite ponies? Asked Pinkie Pie, entering the basement. And Trixie. Very funny, said Trixie beneath her breath. So, Twilight was right. You have gone insane. Oh, Trixie, said Pinkie Pie. Keep it up and I'll have to stab you just like I did Rarity there. Rainbow caught a glimpse of the rotting corpse of Bubbles near the back wall, and vomited all over the floor. Oh, Rainbow Dash, said Pinkie Pie. Somebody's going to have to clean that up. Pinkie Pie left the room. So, how did you get caught? Whispered Rarity. Twilight asked for my help. Trixie whispered back. I'm here to help rescue you. Well, you're doing a fine job, said Rarity. Will you give me a minute? I have to wait for the right moment. Pinkie Pie reappeared, holding a mop in her mouth. She went over to Fluttershy, who was cowering in the far corner, and dropped the mop in front of her. Clean, she said. What? Asked Fluttershy. Rainbow Dash made a mess on the floor. You're going to clean it up. Fluttershy said nothing, and Trixie worked on untying the ropes with her magic. Now! Yelled Pinkie. Fluttershy only cowered more. That's it! Yelled Pinkie. Just then, Trixie fell to the floor, and Pinkie whipped around. It worked, said Trixie happily. Then she saw the look on Pinkie's face. Oh no. She took off out the door. Yeah, you'd better run, yelled Pinkie, chasing after her. Trixie got to the top of the stairs and ended up in the living room. She looked around for an escape, but all she saw was a large glass window on the far wall. She ran to the window and looked out. Wait, she said, backing up. I'm not jumping through that. She turned around and stopped. Pinkie Pie was standing in the doorway. Hell's fury burned in her eyes. Without hesitation, Trixie leapt through the window and rolled across the ground outside. She could hardly move. The glass had cut her, but at least she was free of Pinkie Pie. She soon passed out from blood loss. Pinkamena let out a low growl and headed back to the downstairs basement. She then entered a room just before the basement area itself and closed the door. It was a basic, small bathroom with a mirror over the sink and shower. The pink mare trotted over to the sink and stared into the mirror. "That damn Trixie!" she spat. "I'll get her." Just then the door opened. "Everything all right, Pinky?" asked a voice. The pink mare looked over her shoulder. "Everything's fine. Now go back upstairs and keep a lookout." "You got it," said the voice before the door creaked shut. Hoof steps could be heard trotting back up the stairs. The pink mare noticed that her mane was a little messy and let out a low sigh. She trotted over to the shower and turned the water on. When it was hot enough, she turned on the shower head. "Gonna get that stupid mare," the pink mare muttered, holding her head under the water for a few seconds before pulling away. She grabbed a thing of hair gel and squeezed it into her mane. She then set out the bottle down and rubbed the gel in, all the while thinking back to why or what she was going to do to Trixie when she got her hooves on her. She then held her head under the water again and rubbed the gel in. When that was done, she pulled back and turned off the water. She then dried her hair and grabbed a comb. Pinky let out a groan as she sat on the edge of the tub, brushing her hair. Just then there was a knock at the door. "Come in," groaned the pink mare. The door opened. "Pinky?" asked the voice. "Yes? What is it?" "They took Trixie to the hospital." The pink mare chuckled as she brushed. "Of course they did. Standard procedure. What do you want me to do?" "Just leave it to me, okay?" The owner of the voice nodded. "Got it, Pinky." There was a short pause. "Why do you comb your mane?" "What? Just because I'm a serial killer doesn't mean I can't look nice?" "I didn't mean it like that. It's actually really hard to keep my mane straight and perfect." "Well, it looks nice." Pinky nodded. "Thank you. Now, go. I have work to do." The door closed again, and Pinky got up, heading to the mirror. "Looks like I'm going to the hospital," she said with a grin. Trixie awoke in a white room. She looked around and realized she was in a hospital. A nurse pony walked in. "Ah, you're awake," she said. "What happened?" asked Trixie. "You were found in the middle of broken glass. You had lost a lot of blood and passed out. A couple ponies who witnessed the event called us right away." "Where am I?" asked Trixie. "At the hospital in Hoofington," the nurse answered. "Would it be possible to send a message to Ponyville?" "Ponyville?" asked the nurse. "That's a little far." "How about Canterlot?" asked Trixie. "To Princess Celestia." "Of course," said the nurse. "Every town or city in Equestria has some way to communicate with the princesses of Canterlot. What's the message?" "Tell Celestia to tell Twilight Sparkle of Ponyville this. She's hiding in Hoofington." "She's hiding in Hoofington?" asked the nurse. "To Twilight Sparkle of Ponyville." "Yes, please," said Trixie. "And hurry. It's an emergency." "Sure, and get some rest," said the nurse. "You've lost a lot of blood, but you're doing much better. You could be walking again in no time." The nurse pony left the room to deliver the message. Twilight paced back and forth in the library. "What's taking her so long?" asked Twilight. "Not sure," said Spike. "How about we—" He stopped talking, green flames exploding from his mouth, and a scroll appeared. "Finally!" said Twilight, taking the scroll. She opened it in front of her and read it. "She's in Hoofington." "Hoofington?" asked Spike. "All the way over there? Well, I guess I better get moving." Trixie couldn't sleep a wink. She was too on edge from what she had seen earlier. Just then, the nurse appeared in the door. "You have a visitor," said the nurse. "Says her name is Twilight." "Twilight?" asked Trixie. "Send her in." "Sure," said the nurse. "Twilight," she called down the hall. "You can come in now." Trixie turned her head to stare up at the ceiling. She heard voices in the hallway. Don't take so long. She needs rest. Trixie let out a sigh. Oh, Twilight, said Trixie, looking towards the doorway. I'm so glad you... She stopped. Hey, Trixie, said Pinkie Pie. Her hair was still straight and hanging over her face. I couldn't wait to see you again. Trixie was still too scared to speak. Pinkie Pie stepped up to the edge of the bed. You thought you could escape from me? Pinkie asked. No pony escapes from me. Not you. Not any pony. Get that? She walked over to a cabinet and opened it. Let's see what tools they have in here. She looked through the cabinet and found a box filled with plastic knives. They all had a loop attached to the handle. She slipped her front hoof through the loop and held up a plastic knife. I could use this. She turned to Trixie. This is going to hurt so much. Twilight appeared in the center of Hoofington. That was lucky, she said, never teleporting to a place she'd never been to before. She saw a pony walking by. Excuse me, she said. The pony stopped and looked at her. I'm looking for someone. Hold still, said Pinkie. I want to savor this moment. Trixie rolled off the edge of the bed and pressed herself against the back wall. There's no sense running, said Pinkie. I've got you cornered. There's nowhere to go. Twilight entered the hospital and approached the front desk. Excuse me, she said. I'm here to see Trixie. Trixie? Asked a nurse, approaching the desk. She's my patient. Who are you? Twilight. Twilight Sparkle. Twilight Sparkle? Asked the nurse. That's funny. What is? Asked Twilight. Well, I just sent a Twilight Sparkle to Trixie's room. What? Asked Twilight. Oh no. What room is she in? 203, said the nurse. Twilight took off down the hall. Wait! Twilight rounded a corner. 180, 181, 182. Trixie! She yelled. I'm coming! Pinkie held Trixie up against the wall. Time to die, said Pinkie, raising the knife. Trixie levitated the knife upwards, taking Pinkie's front leg up with it. Pinkie tried to lower her leg, but her hoof was caught in the loop of the knife. She grunted with effort, but it was no use. Then they heard a voice approaching. Trixie! Twilight, said Trixie happily. Pinkie whacked Trixie across the face, causing her to lose concentration. The knife fell, and Pinkie pulled it off. This isn't over, said Pinkie menacingly. She burst out of the doorway as Twilight was approaching. After flashing at Twilight an angry look, Pinkie took off down the hallway. Twilight entered the room and found Trixie up against the wall. Are you okay? I'm fine, said Trixie. But right now, we have to save your friends. Right, said Twilight. Let's go.